Welcome to the BodPod, the podcast where everybody is welcome. I'm your host, Rachel K. Grimm, and each week we welcome old and new friends to talk all things body image, self-love, and confidence. This is the BodPod.
I literally think back to my sessions and I go, why am I feeling like this? You know, I think back to all of the bodies that I've been around and I'm like, this is so like normal. Like, I'm just like, this is fine. Like, I don't know, like if I was to see somebody else, like in the way that I looked right now, if I could see another version of myself outside, I would be like, oh, she looks great. You know?
Hey, BodPod squad. I'm Rachel K. Grimm, the confidence coach behind Ditch the Click and your BodPod host. Every week from my cute Brooklyn apartment, I'm bringing you confidence boosting conversations from some of your favorites in the space. And today I'm chatting with Camille Hunt. She's a figurative artist and empowerer based in Brooklyn.
Hey, Rachel. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm so excited.
Camille, I got body painted by you, right?
Yeah.
And I want you to explain what that means because honestly, I've been telling everyone it's one of the top 10 experiences of my life. And I mean that so honestly, like it really was a life-changing moment for me. And so I want you to tell us, what the heck does that even mean?
Okay. So body painting. So I started doing this about 2.5 years ago. Basically, you'd come into my studio space, you'd get painted, you'd be in the nude, and then we would kind of make different compositions and make different creative calls on color and press yourself against canvas or paper. And we worked together in creating a painting. And so, yeah, I started this a few years ago and, you know, I was my very first model. Then I started kind of recruiting people from Instagram. And then it sort of, progressed into a full-time job where now I have people coming in the studio daily and they're being very vulnerable, taking their clothes off, getting close with me. And we're making art together this way. And so it's a very cool process. And that's it, essentially.
It is such a cool process. And I love that you explained it of like painting the body and pressing onto the canvas, because I've been saying to my friends, I'm like, I felt like a stamp. Like I felt like you painted
You are.
my body. Yeah. You painted my body and then you put, you showed me like different ways to move my body, to fit my whole body onto the canvas. And then, as you said, like press down like a stamp. And it was then my body on this painting. But I think though that itself was so powerful, as you said, being like vulnerable, being in the nude is like vulnerable for all of us, right? And so, yes, like that alone is a vulnerable experience. But I think what was the most empowering from that vulnerable experience was then the opportunity to sit down with you after we did that like almost stamping process and how you finished the art after that. You kind of outlined the body and you highlighted these areas of my body, some that I love, some that I don't always love. But the way that you did it gave me like a greater appreciation for my body and put me in this space of being like, oh my gosh, this is my body. This piece of art. This is me.
Yeah.
So
it's a different way to see your body.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a little bit about that process beyond just the like putting the body onto the canvas and you actually going in and painting.
Yeah. A lot of times when people come in here, they come in with different stories about why they're here. Some people come in because they're just like, I need some art on my walls. I thought it was really beautiful. I want to hang it, blah, blah, blah. Some people come in here because they're in recovery of sorts, because they're working on their confidence, or it could be their birthday, a bad breakup, whatever. And a lot of people who come in say, you know, I've always been really insecure about, it could be anything. It could be their stomach, their arms, their whatever. Yeah. And, you know, the actual print, when we lay down and we make that print with their body, when they come up, it's a very abstract form. It's not what you see on my walls. It's more of an abstract shape of that. And so I go in with sort of my gestural movements, and based on your body type, I kind of come in and make marks that look like you. And it's very sort of spontaneous. A lot of the marks can be like very wispy. You've seen I even use like my fingers. So yeah, it kind of just like unifies the piece together. And yeah, it's basically taking that like really abstract piece and unifying the whole bit together and making it look more like you. And I think those parts of the body where people feel, insecure, if it's their arm, their thighs, their stomach, whatever, they can look at it and appreciate it a bit more.
I think that's totally it. Like being able to step outside of your body and see your body, as we said, as a work of art. Seeing these I think about walking in your studio and seeing all of this beautiful art on the wall. Those are bodies of real people that have come in and done exactly what we did, right? And I look at theirs and think it's so beautiful. And it's so easy to think, oh, well, is my body going to look good there too? Is it going to show up? And then sitting down with you and you, as you said, like defining the body and putting in those brush strokes and fingerprints really does define it and bring, as you said, that abstract piece to life and makes it true, outline the body and see your body as a work of art. And you commented there about people coming in to see you for like a multitude of reasons. Sometimes it's they want art, or maybe it's to empower themselves or help them face a situation that they're in. And I know for me, when we sat down and you did that piece, I cried. Like I actually cried watching you do that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, wow, this is my body. So I'm sure you get a lot of tears and a lot of like, as we said, it's vulnerable showing up in the nude, like doing this, but how vulnerable then for someone to come to you and almost like it's therapeutic to watch you paint their bodies.
I think a lot of the process is like a lot of people have the idea that like it's about the art, it's about like leaving with the art, and it's like this physical thing that you have. And I think there are reasons and intentions for people coming in, like I said, for recovery, for, self-love, whatever it is that they're going through. But for me as the artist, it's not necessarily about the outcome. It's about like how I'm making them feel in the environment that they're in. So like, yes, it's about them being a part of the art, but it's also them like really focusing and being a part of themselves, because every day, like, you go to work, you take the train, there's all these things that are constantly around you where you're not like necessarily like, I'm not like with Camille all the time. I'm like Camille on the train. I'm Camille at work. I'm, Camille at dinner with my friends. But this like place and this like reason and intention for coming in is really like about the person who is being here. And it's really about like capturing the intention of like why they're here on that day. So they leave with something that like, yes, it's a painting and yes, it's really beautiful, but it's also like a reminder to them. It's like, I was very intentional that day with that reason of why I went in there. Like I just went through a bad breakup. I'm struggling with ED, I'm, whatever it be. So I think creating an environment around, something that's like further than art is kind of what makes this really special, because they have that reminder, forever somewhere on the wall.
Yeah, I know we talked about the fact that it was capturing my body and any body who goes in there to work on this with you in this moment of time and celebrate it, being able to see it as a work of art. So I want to talk a little bit about the comfortability in coming to see you, right? So if someone is like, oh, I want to do this, because I know when I shared it on social, and obviously you're on Instagram and TikTok sharing this all the time, and people are, as you said, this is your full-time job. You literally paint bodies and you're a figurative artist, you paint bodies, you put them on a canvas. How do you create this space that is so safe, right? Like from the moment that someone reaches out to you and says like, I want to do this, to the moment they're coming in, and then like, obviously they know they have to take off their clothes when they get there. But I want to talk about that. Like, I think that you've really fostered an incredible like atmosphere in your space. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit. I think too, we could touch on here your background, yes, in art, but also in body positivity and how that lends to that creating that safe, comfortable space too.
In college, I was a figure model for different artists around the college town that I was in. So I spent a lot of time nude modeling myself for figurative artists, standing on a platform, having several people draw me. And so I know what it's like to be on the other side, and I know like how vulnerable it can be. And one of the reasons that I started being a figure model in college was because I loved just the confidence of seeing the people that would get up on that platform. I remember my very first figure drawing class, seeing this girl just come out and just had all of this confidence, and we drew her. And, you know, people would always say things like, oh, is it weird being in like the room when someone's naked and you're drawing them? And
Yeah.
honestly, it's not, because you just start like looking at this person in like different shapes and forms instead of like a breast. It's like, okay, here is, you know, here is this shape, you know, here is that shape. But I think being on the other side and kind of knowing what it's like to, you know, be vulnerable and take your clothes off. I try and have this like wonderful sense of comfortability here. So you walk in, there's disco balls, there's a pretty couch, there's paintings on the wall.
It's so beautiful. Your space is unreal. Right. I love it.
The big windows, and having people see all of this on the wall help, like knowing that other people have been here and done, makes them feel comfortable and makes them feel like they're in the right place. And I feel like it also helps them be able to express more. A lot of people kind of get vulnerable with me, tell me why they're in here, and about their intentions. And so a lot of walls come down and a lot of like expression happens here. So, yeah.
Has there been someone that you've painted, or someone that's been a model for you, or someone who shared an experience with you that was just like, I don't want to say your favorite, because I don't know if that's the right word to use, like picking favorites, but like maybe someone that stood out. And of course, we don't have to like name who they were, but just like for some reason why they stood out to you, because you do this with so many people, right? And as you said, you have so many stories, you paint so many bodies. And I'm just curious, like on your side, like every body is different, but what really stands out to you?
Oh, there's honestly so many levels to it. There's levels of, you know, on one side, it's like meeting people who are in recovery. I like met with this one girl who I just like from the get-go, like thought she was wonderful. She came in, she was very, very vulnerable with me about her, you know, recovery with alcoholism and being more intentional with it. So I have tons of respect for that. People come in, and, you know, on the like really the other side of things is inspiration. I've had people who've come in who are, you know, entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And, you know, they talk about their businesses. They talk about like, you know, right now I just found like an amazing sponsor, and I'm in this time of my life where things are so good, and I want to come in here and I want to capture like the 32 or 23-year-old me like right now. So I can't really, I feel like there's so many different levels to that. I really honestly couldn't say that like there's one particular, because everybody really is so different.
Yeah.
You have people who come in here who are very, very shy, who, you know, they don't even let like, you know, their friends see them nude, or their mother see them nude. So you have like, and they even kind of like hold themselves. And then you have people on like the other end of the spectrum that, you know, take their clothes off immediately when they get in here. So, it's really every experience I've had has been, and I'm not like exaggerating when I say this, but I've been so blessed that I've really only had positive experiences with people coming in and modeling. And they're so different, but I'm inspired by like so many stories and people that come in here and it's helped me in my own life. You know, if I'm struggling with something, hearing a perspective from somebody else, I'm constantly learning about myself too, like hearing about someone's situation, going home, thinking about it. It's like, how would I react to that? So yeah, it's all very interesting and a lot of reflection in myself even. So yeah.
Yeah. I want to touch on two things from what you just said. First of all, you saying about, you know, it's hard to pick one that necessarily stands out because you hear so many inspiring stories. And I think too, the fact that so many people come in and are willing to open up about their story and about what they're going through, whether it's good or bad, or for whatever reason they're there. I think that speaks to the space that you've created too. The like comfortable, calming, just true, as you said, like it's like an artistic expression, of course, but it's almost like a celebration of body, not like a moment of like being embarrassed. Although it might start out like covering yourself up, it's really empowering to be like, oh no, this is like this vessel that like got me here, and I'm celebrating it through this
Yeah.
art. Right.
And it's so interesting too, because a lot of the people that are sort of shy when they come in here are nervous. They will start out like very kind of like having their arms over their breasts or, putting the towel back on immediately.
Yes.
But within like it's just interesting to see the progression of how comfortable they become, because
Yeah.
they'll kind of be nervous at first. They'll get up from the first print and it goes from them like covering themselves to covering themselves less to like not covering themselves at all. And they just
Yes.
feel like they can like have their walls down and they don't feel judged. They don't feel like I'm looking at them physically, and they just feel comfortable. And so, yeah, it's really great as personally to be able to see that progression in people and how they can kind of let their walls down a little bit, and you can just easily see it throughout the process. So
I want to talk about that personal piece for you
mm-hmm.
and how this has affected your body confidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as we said earlier, you have a background in obviously in figurative arts and in body positivity, but now seeing people just so wildly embrace their bodies in this space that you've built, that I'm sure is so inspiring. I mean, you've already said it's inspiring. Like, it's so inspiring for you in general. But can we talk a little bit about how it's inspired your personal body confidence journey?
Sure. Yeah. So I've always struggled with body dysmorphia like crazy.
Yeah.
My whole life growing up, I was very petite, very small, and very athletic. And, going to college, just being a woman, your hips get bigger. You just become a woman. You start to fill out a little bit more. And I was just really not used to that. And so at one point in my life, I had gained probably like 20 pounds, and it was, for someone who's like 5'1", it was quite a shock to the system.
Yeah.
And I feel like once I lost majority of it, I was like fine, but I didn't have the healthiest relationship with my body because I always felt like I saw myself at my worst state, like constantly. And I needed to like learn how to heal that relationship a bit. And there's always going to be some moment in your life where you're going to say, oh, I wish my hair looked a little bit more like this. I wish I was a little bit whatever. That's human. Like, you can't help that.
Yes.
But it's helped me really embrace a lot of my insecurities. Because I am small, I am curvy. I definitely feel more connected with my body. I don't like see myself being as critical of myself anymore. And I looked at my body more for health, to make myself healthy rather than making myself like the appearance of myself. Right. So that's what I've really tried working on for a long time is, I'm never going to be a 00 ever again. Yeah. I'm never going to do it. And unless I do it in a really unhealthy way. Yeah. And for me, the most important thing is like, if I'm wanting to work on myself and my appearance, you need to be doing it in a healthy way. And everything needs to be in moderation. Like, you don't need to be overly exercising. You don't need to be dieting to like, down to the calories. Just like have fun, do what you want, be healthy and like be strong. And that's what you need to focus on. And so, it's definitely helped me, especially hearing other people's journeys and what they've been through, and how people have, dealt with their own personal insecurities. So I think it's also important to share things like that too. I think sometimes people feel like they shouldn't share, or they're oversharing about their journey a little bit. But I think it's so much more relatable than people think. And especially kind of with social media, and you're just sort of looking at these huge figures that, are always in the best tip-top shape. Yeah. And they're really, really like unrealistic expectations for people. So I feel like sharing journeys are a big thing. And that's why, that's one of the things that's really helped me in here. So yeah.
I love that because obviously that's what we do on the BodPod. Like we're all about
Mm-hmm.
sharing people's experiences, sharing their stories of discovering their self-confidence or the work that they do that is in relation to body confidence, because there is so much power in hearing other people's stories. And the fact that literally what you do every day is get to hear people's stories of how they got there, or maybe how they're not there yet, but how they're working on getting there. And I love that you said that, there's never a time ever where 100% every single time you look in the mirror you're going to love yourself. It's just it's just on, and talk about unrealistic expectations, that you're always going to love it. We're our own worst critic. We're so hard on ourselves. But I also love that you commented on the fact that when we make these moves that maybe we're told we're supposed to do to look a certain way or appear a certain way, often those can be the times, even if we're following through with that, one, it's toxic to us, and two, it's the times that we're like the least happy with ourselves. It's when we're making decisions that actually serve us. I love that you commented on just doing things in a healthy way and how that makes such a difference for the joy that you have for your body and in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And doing it in the healthy way keeps you from getting into those like toxic habits. And so I just appreciate you hear people's journeys all the time and their vulnerabilities. So I appreciate you sharing that, because I think you sharing that is proof that, you can work with bodies every single day as you do and still have moments of like not loving what you see in the mirror, and you're understanding that that's okay and normal. But there are also days that you are going to like love what you see, and that's okay and normal too.
Yeah, totally. It just gives you a different way of looking at your body when you're seeing something insecure. I literally, when I'm putting on something that's too tight, whether it be a swimsuit, shorts, whatever, and I'm feeling that terrible feeling, I literally think back to my sessions and I go, why am I feeling like this? I think back to all of the bodies that I've been around, and I'm like, this is so like normal. Like, I'm just like, this is fine. Like, I don't know, like if I was to see somebody else, like in the way that I looked right now, if I could see another version of myself outside, I would be like, oh, she looks great.
Like, isn't that it? We're our own worst critic. Like, I think all the time, what if I could see myself the way my friends see me, the way my partner sees me, the way you see me, right? If I could see myself that way, I would see so much more good than bad. It's the way that we see ourselves, we inherently are negative. And so if we think about, as you said, those experiences or moments that we feel really empowered, or those people that make us feel beautiful or that we see, what a great tool almost to use on those days that we're like beating ourselves up, to be able to see ourselves in that more positive way.
And I think like have you ever heard that, where it's that saying where it's like, there's only two people in your life you need to impress. It's like your younger self and your older self.
Yeah.
Well, in this scenario, I really think, the younger you are, the less you know and the less experienced you are. So in this scenario, I don't necessarily think when it comes to your body, that's who you need to be looking at. I think you need to look at like your 70-year-old self who has all of the wisdom, who has spent its whole life with you, and have that future person look back and say, Rachel, you're doing it all wrong. You need to be loving, like your body is so beautiful. You need to spend like your time now, like, being healthy for yourself, taking care of yourself, and like loving yourself. And so, it would be so devastating to like get to that age and think, oh, I was so terrible to my body. I pushed myself. I wish I had loved myself more. I wish I had the cake. I wish I had, done the things. And, because that's when it's going to really matter to you.
Yes.
And during that like reflection. And
truly.
So, yeah.
What joy do we keep ourselves from simply because of not liking ourselves? As you said, not eating the cake, not wearing the shorts, not going on the vacation, not going swimming, like the joys that we keep ourselves from because of our body, that like no one else sees in that way that we see it. If we're able to step outside of it and see it as a work of art, I love that you said on the days that you're not loving what you're seeing in the mirror, you think about all these bodies that you've seen that are works of art that you literally have created. Because after our session, after being painted, I really feel like I saw my body differently, as I said earlier, like as a work of art. But like in the moments of not feeling so great, I was able to be like, well, you really loved yourself that day, Rachel, and you don't look much different now.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. It's that reminder of the intention
Yes.
going in. And like, what was your intention that day? Like, why did you come in? Like, oh, you spent some time in that studio, like appreciating yourself, loving yourself, and making some art like out of that intention. And
Yeah.
so I think that's, the real beauty that like comes from the studio. I mean, yes, the paintings are beautiful, but it's like that intention is
Yes.
captured something.
So on days when I'm not feeling so great, as I said, I can reflect back on our work together. But something that I love to do too is write myself notes on the good days on little post-its, stick them on my mirror. On my mirror, there's so many. I have a bunch on my wall over here too that I just look at as a reminder. Yes, every day, but more on the not so great days that okay, you liked yourself here and you liked this thing yesterday. So again, like not that much is different. What is there not to love today? And obviously those little notes don't solve everything, but it's at
Sure.
least a reminder for myself. And that's something for me personally, I do like butt naked looking in the mirror and I'm like, you know what? We really like this curve in our hips today. We're going to write that down, put this on this post-it note. Yes.
Yeah.
So obviously you, as you said, like have this process for yourself, like thinking about the work that you've done and the impact that these women have had on you and your body confidence. But I'm curious, are there any other like tools or resources that maybe you use for a client when they come in that you find maybe they're a little uncomfortable that you do to get them a bit more comfortable in their skin? Or maybe it's not even for a client, it's something for you. Just any like tool or resource or tip that you can offer to someone who is having one of those like bad body image days so that they can see
Um,
themselves as more of a work of art.
I don't know that like I wouldn't say like many people come in and they're like, I don't like my body today kind of
Right.
thing. People
Right.
kind of like gradually open up.
Yeah.
But as far as like making them comfortable,
Yeah.
honestly, a lot of like really relaxed language, a lot of relaxed, like the way that you present yourself to people when they walk in a room. If someone walks in, everyone's a little bit nervous when they come in because they don't know me. They've never met me before. I've never met
Right.
them before. We're actually
Right.
like complete strangers when people come in here.
You're
I
like,
don't
we've
know what,
DM'd or emailed and that's about
yeah.
it.
Yeah, or especially email. Like if you've emailed me, I don't know what you look like. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I just know
Yeah.
your name's Rachel and like
Yeah.
you're coming in and like that's all. So
Yeah.
and I think like, like for example, when you go to a therapy session or you go in for, I don't know, to talk to, I don't know, anything that you're going to like purchase, it's always like has to be very like professional and this and
Yes.
that and kind of you
Yes.
kind of like present yourself in like a professional manner. I kind
Yeah.
of like to go against that a little bit for me as a
Yeah.
person. I mean, this is a little bit different scenario, but like
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be relaxed on the couch drinking a coffee and eating a cookie when you walk in
Yes.
and be like, "Oh, what's up? You want some cookie?" Like,
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
sit down, like have a seat. And it's like, all
Yeah.
right, so like, what's your name? Where are you from? Like,
Yeah.
so nice to meet you. How'd you hear about this? Like, what are your intentions for coming in today? But I think a lot of the relaxed like language, like being able to say fuck or like
Yeah.
being able to be like, I mean, talk about like a one night stand a client had in Italy one time. Like
Yeah.
it literally doesn't matter. But I think that like really allows people to open up totally.
True.
The
Like
relatability.
the relatable person. Is it?
Yeah. And it's like, obviously I don't know these people well,
Yeah.
but like I want to speak with them in a way that like, they're, they might like tell their best friend this kind of thing,
Yeah.
about like that one thing they did in Italy one time or
Yeah.
about, I don't know, someone they're seeing or about a relationship or something they're struggling with. And so, and I think there's something about opening up to someone you don't know at all that's like a complete stranger that is kind of freeing because like most of the time I don't see any of these people again. Like I might
Yes.
keep contact And
Yes.
like, you know, they'll reach out and be like, oh my gosh, Camille, I love my painting. Here it is on the wall. Like my friend so-and-so is going to come in and see you. Or they might show up to like a studio show or whatever.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like our relationships kind of go this way. And I think that for a lot of people, that allows them to open up more and speak more freely, because there's no sense of like, it's not like we met at brunch with some people and she's opening up about all this stuff, but I know all these people she knows and I might, you know what I mean? There's no fear of that. So they just kind of come in here and they're like, woo.
Like, it's amazing that you've created a space like that. And I think something that's so powerful in what you do, you know, whether it's just you and that person or that person brings a friend with them. Like I brought one of my great friends with me when I went. I remember leaving thinking just not only was it empowering for me, it was empowering for my friend. And I think it speaks to the idea of community too, right? As you've said, like being able to hear from other people who are going through similar things that you're going through or feeling validated in some way, or like you said, they have no obligation to you after this painting, and so they can open up to you and like you can find ways to relate. I'm going to plug here because it's just too perfect to not do. We just recently launched the Bodcon app, which is a space for everyone in the Bodcon community to go to and feel seen on their confidence journey and feel like there are those who are also on it with them. And I think one of the reasons that is so powerful is, yes, there are opportunities like at the BodCon event where you virtually like meet in Zoom rooms and things like that, that you actually get to meet the people. But, you know, most of the time on the app, you're simply getting to like, you know, exchange text and words and photos and things with other people who are on this same journey with you, but you don't have any obligation to them. Right. So, like you can support, I guess maybe your obligation is supporting one another on this journey, but I don't know. It just makes me think about the communal piece of it, whether that community is just like you and the person that you're painting or their friend that they bring, or maybe they bring their partner or whatever. Like that is so, it's empowering beyond just the me, right? Which is exactly what we're trying to do on the app too.
That's so cool. Wow. That's amazing.
Camille, I could ask you 1,000,001 questions. I could talk about your work all day, but we want people to see your work. So I'd love for you to shout out where they can see your work, but also if they want to see their body as a work of art, hanging in their studio or hanging in their home, give us all of those details of how they can make that happen.
So I'm working on the TikTok. But if you want to see more pictures and things of my actual artwork, like things that are for sale, I definitely recommend Instagram or my website. It tends to be a little bit more updated on Instagram. You can inquire.
On Instagram, you're at Camille Hunt _art.
Yes, at CamilleHunt.art or .art. So you can inquire there. Email is a little bit better. So you can email me at CamilleHuntArt@gmail.com. There's also on my website like a little inquiry box you can see where under the contact label, and I'll basically, when you inquire, I'll send you a price list, different sizings if you're wanting something custom, and a detailed description of the process and how things work. But yeah, I recommend getting in touch email wise, and then we can set you up a date. Or normally I will open up my calendar at the first of every month for the next month, and people can book in that way. So yeah.
I want to comment too, for anyone who's just listening to audio of this podcast, highly recommend watching us on YouTube. We're at the Bodcon on YouTube. We're going to have a bunch of clips in there from Camille and I's experience at her studio being painted. It is so neat to watch from the moment that we go in, and like Camille said, she shows the different types of poses and the different sizes, to selecting the color that is like best for you, to actually physically painting the like body safe paint onto your body, going onto the canvas, the stamping moment, then her defining the body with the paintbrush. We're having all of those visuals on YouTube, so highly recommend checking that out. As we said, it's like wildly empowering to be a part of, but also to watch. And so yeah, check it out there. But Camille, as you said, on Instagram, you have so many cool behind the scenes videos of you doing all things in detail too, which I know, yes, is inspiring for if you want to be painted, but even if you know, can't come to Brooklyn to be painted by Camille, highly recommend watching that solely to just feel really at home and comfortable in your body and see these other people really embracing theirs as art too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Camille, I ask everyone who comes on the podcast this question. What does confidence mean to you?
Confidence to me looks like self-reliance, radical self-expression, and basically just going after it, not worrying about what people think. And, you know, we all grow up with this idea of thinking this is how it's supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to do. And if that's not for you, going against that and just like doing exactly what you want to do requires so much bravery, requires so much confidence. And that's what it looks like to me.
Radical confidence. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Camille, thank you so much for being here, for chatting with me about your amazing work, for painting me. I appreciate you and your work so much. I can't tell you enough. Like I said, top 10 experiences of my life. Highly recommend.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much for joining us today on the BodPod. We release new episodes every week, and we're available on all podcast streaming platforms and now YouTube too. Subscribe to our channels to be the first to know. Want to talk all things body confidence, enter amazing giveaways, and hear updates about the Bodcon 2023? Find us on Instagram @the Bodcon. My name's Rachel K. Grimm, and I'll see you next week.